Abandon all hope, ye who live here. That's the message of First Lady Michelle Obama recently told our national confessor, Oprah, that after her husband leaves, all joy will die.
Now we're feeling what not having hope feels like. What else do you have if you don't have hope? What do you give your kids if you can't give them hope? This past election was challenging for me as a citizen to watch and experience. It was painful. Words matter. What we say, how we behave, we are modeling to the next generation. So if we want maturity, we have to be mature. If we want a nation that feels hopeful, then we have to speak in hopeful terms. If we want smart leaders, then we have to be smart voters. We cannot vote from a place of fear.
In other words, my husband was the embodiment of hope. He's gone. It's now the Dark Ages. We'll be living in caves by February. Well, radio show host Tammy Bruce has thought a lot about this topic and wrote a great piece on it, and she joins us now. Tammy, it's great to see you. What is this about?
Oh, nice to be back. Thank you, Tucker. Look, it was this interview with Oprah that was, of course, for a lot of people very confusing because the election is done, and her messaging was, this is the irony, that you know, we want hope for the American people, but now hope is dead because we lost. And I began to receive phone calls from liberal friends, mostly in California, who had actually were becoming physically ill because of the nature of the rhetoric, the fear-mongering on the left. And I felt it was a good sign because they weren't calling to hector me like they were before the election. They were calling to ask me if I really thought he was going to do the things they were being told he was going to do, which was, of course, cause Armageddon, end gay marriage, destroy the environment, etc. And what I've told people is, of course, no, that's not the case. He is generally going to make things better, and this is about jobs, it's about the economy, so that all of us can live as individuals in the way that best suits us.
It's so funny how, I mean, it's hard to understand what a politician is going to do before he takes office, of course. But in the case of Trump, there's this weird distortion that liberals have, and I think it's sincere. They imagine he's this guy that I don't see at all. For example, I don't see him as anti-gay in the slightest. And yet there's all this hysteria about Trump as an enemy of the LGBT community, et cetera. Where's that coming from? And is it, you watch this carefully, is that rooted in any kind of reality?
No, it's not. And look, he is the first nominee and the first candidate, the first president-elect for the GOP to actually embrace the actual gay pride flag in a public forum. This is a fellow who is really a pragmatist. He's a populist. I find Mr. Trump, I think, to be somewhat ambivalent about the social issues. He's really a live and let live kind of guy, but he likes to make deals, as we've been covering, of course, on the Boeing situation, et cetera. He cares about jobs. But when you think about hope, and this is the irony of Mrs. Obama, that hope is not a plan. Hope is the thing that you have when things are going wrong. That real hope can't exist unless you actually have a job, you have an income, you have a future that you can plan for your children, that you actually are able, your house is not underwater when it comes to its mortgage, that you have your health, you can actually get an appointment with the doctor that you know. Those are the things that bring you hope. The Obamas have presented it as though, look, this is the new normal, this is going to be awful, and we're going to just at least emotionally encourage you. The election was about actually wanting genuine hope built on action, actions that are going to allow people to know what the future is for themselves and their family. That's what real hope is.
When there are 95 million people out of the workforce, it's a little hard for me to sit there and listen to hope lectures, but there's also this weird egomania behind this where we are the embodiment, it's almost a religious posture. We're the embodiment of hope, and now that we're gone, nothing will ever be the same. I mean, what does that say about how they see themselves?
Well, it's very strange. It's cult-like a little bit, but it's also the antithesis of what they claim to be for. If they really cared about the nation in an existential way, they would want the sensibility of hope to continue. But it's also, as a feminist, 3.7 million women pushed into poverty in these last 8 years. The 95 million people out of the workforce, as you've mentioned. The suicide rate being at a historical high.
I know.
All of these things. And this is what the American people, that's supposed to be about hope. We deserve better, and we at least know there's a chance that we're going to get better coming up. So for every liberal, I'll bring you hope in saying that there's an action plan to actually make your lives better, and that everybody can relax and have a fabulous Christmas and be able to have a good time with your families, because we're going to be okay.
Amen. That's right. Thanks a lot, Tammy Bruce. Great to see you.
Thanks, Tucker.
In a Factor follow-up segment tonight, should the Trump administration prosecute Hillary Clinton? A federal judge yesterday unsealed a search warrant that showed agents were concerned classified information on Hillary Clinton's private email server made its way to Anthony Weiner's computer. Weiner is the estranged husband of Clinton aide Huma Abedin, and he's currently under federal investigation for sexting with an underage girl. President-elect Trump raised the alarm about the situation during the campaign.
Huma is getting classified secrets. She's married to Anthony Weiner, who's a perv. No, he is. He is. Do you think there's even a 5% chance that she's not telling Anthony Weiner, now of a public relations firm, what the hell is coming across? Do you think there's even a little bit of a chance? I don't think so.
Joining us now from Washington, John Flannery, a former federal prosecutor, and from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, Dan Bongino, a former Secret Service agent and radio talk show host. So, Flannery, you just have to admit that President-elect Trump was correct in his assessment about Anthony Weiner. Does it pain you to admit that Trump is correct?
That her husband was a perv? I didn't think that was the question. I think the question is,
that there was
why did they issue a search
information on Weiner's laptop.
Well, there was no probable cause to get a search warrant. That's what we know now that we've seen the search warrant. And we know that Comey violated the very order they sought, which was to keep mum about the investigation. And within days of getting a court order saying they weren't going to talk about it, he's talking about it everywhere within days of the election.
Okay, so let me stop you. Let me just stop you there. Let me just stop you there. So the FBI guys are looking into Weiner's laptop because he's sexting some teenage chick. And they find out probable cause that there are communications, probable cause to look because there are communications potentially between Huma Abedin and Hillary Clinton. You don't want Hillary's communications in Anthony Weiner's laptop. You don't want that, right?
Whoa. Wait a second. First of all, just going back to our boy Trump, the man-child, the communications between Hillary, the communications between
be nice to President-elect Trump. It's President-elect Trump to you.
No, not to me. To
Have
you.
some respect.
I know he's not my president-elect. He's his accidency. To me, he is.
We're going to deport you, Flannery. I think you're going to be the first one out of here.
I think a couple of people can see it, so I don't think it's going to be a big secret.
Good.
But here's my point.
Yeah.
Both Hillary and Abedin both had security clearances. They're allowed to communicate about these things. Number two, they had the identification of the 2,000 or whatever less number of emails that were in question, and all they had to do was check it with the ones they investigated during the summer. And a short time later, after the election, just before the election, they said, yes, they're duplicates.
I know.
So there was no probable cause to begin this
Can I get Dan in here? Flannery seems to be okay with Hillary's classified information on Weiner's laptop. What do you say?
Yeah, with all due respect to John, he's completely embarrassing himself on one of the largest cable TV shows out there. No, you should be, because when you actually, I didn't interrupt you, John. When you read the search warrant, which I did and prepared for... Well, you couldn't have been because I wasn't speaking up till
Flannery, let him finish. Let him finish.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Well, listen, I'm sorry. You're embarrassing yourself, and that's why I'm on the segment to call you out on this. I read the search warrant. You should have done that yourself.
Flannery, we're going to have to cut your mic a la O'Reilly if you don't shut your mouth. Let him finish, please.
Please. Exercise a bit of self-control. It'll help.
I have complete control.
Exercise a modicum of self-control.
I'm not
you don't, because you're a liberal.
Right,
Liberals don't have self-control.
You're out of control.
Flannery.
I think you should take
We're actually going to cut your mic if you don't stop talking. He will talk and you will respond. Go.
I'd be glad to do that.
Jesse, if you actually read the search warrant, which I did preparing for this segment, you will see in the search warrant that they clearly lay out the fact that classified information had been exchanged before between Huma Abedin and Mrs. Clinton, as John said before. But John's leaving out the critical component of that. It wasn't done over a government system. Hello? That's the whole component of the crime. John was a lawyer for the government, and he's leaving out the one component of the story that's the actual crime. Well, come on, McFly, wake up on this one. You're a lawyer.
The crime requires intent.
Okay, guys.
It requires
enough with the legal mumbo-jumbo to both of you guys. Let me ask John a question. John,
Yes,
for the
sir.
Democrats to complain constantly about Russia hacking this election. It's funny, it's kind of like when you leave your door at home unlocked and you complain about getting robbed, because all of this information was unsecure. It was in a homebrew server. It was on Anthony Weiner's laptop. John Podesta handed over his password to a hacker. I mean, come on, you're just giving this stuff away. You can't complain about it afterwards.
Jesse, it's the only system that was not hacked.
Yeah, really?
Her system was secure.
Oh, and you know that.
They never got anything from her system.
That's not what Comey said. Comey said there was probable cause to believe that foreign entities hacked her email server.
No.
Right?
They didn't know.
Yes, they did.
Not.
Okay, so you're just going to believe that on a whim?
They hacked the DNC server. They hacked the DNC emails.
You don't know, Flannery.
They hacked Podesta's emails. They did not hack her server.
That's what you think. All right.
No,
Flannery,
that's what I know.
Thank you very much. And, John, I appreciate you.